started. Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Skinner. I'm one of the editors-in-chief of Spark.
And I'm Jocelyn Duff, and I'm the other editor-in-chief of Spark.
I want to thank you all for taking time out of your Monday night to come and educate yourselves in the upcoming school board election. We are very grateful to have 5 candidates in attendance tonight.
We are going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight consists of 6 questions posed by members of the Spark editorial staff. We believe this is an important event to host, not only because of board members' significant role in Lakota, but also because of the importance of civil engagement. Spark has held a candidate night for every Lakota local school board election since 1996.
We hope you can all learn something tonight that you are able to take with you to polling weeks in November. We will now begin with opening statements from each candidate. Tonight will be moderated by one of our editor-in-chiefs, Ashley Skinner.
For every response given by our candidates tonight, one of our news editors and one of our culture editors, Sarah McGuire and Julia Vigiano, will be giving a 30-second warning from the audience before calling time. We're going to get started with a 2-minute opening statement and introduction from each of our candidates. We'll start with Mr. Argo and go down the line.
Thanks a lot. So I'd like to start by thanking the Spark for putting on this event tonight. I just read your first issue, and I think you guys nailed the master facilities plan, so I appreciate that. So I'm Alex Argo. I'm a proud Lakota graduate, O2, and Lakota dad as well. I met my wife here in the district. She was my stand partner in the band program, and I actually met my 2 business partners here as well. So I guess one other thing that's important to point out is I come from a family of educators, so as I've grown up, just from all the conversations I've had, the power of education and the impact it can have on children is one thing that's been an impression that's left on me. So I started getting involved in the school board. I went to a community conversation back in 2019 about music education. There was a huge amount of attendance there, and I left that night feeling optimistic about the direction that the district was going in. Unfortunately, over the next few years, chaos ensued. There was a pandemic, and then there was also some board members with no connection to the school and a political agenda. So personally, myself, I am the opposite of that. I'm very connected. I have 3 kids in the schools. I've got a 5th grader, a 7th grader, and a sophomore. I'm an active volunteer at all of my children's buildings, and I'm Cub Master for a local Cub Scout pack. So at the end of the day, why I want to run for the Board of Education is because I had an amazing education and great opportunities here in the district, and I just want to make sure that the students here today get the 2025 version of that.
Thank you. Ms. Casper?
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. My name is Kelly Casper, and I also would like to thank the Spark for hosting this event. They post it, like they said, every year, and I think I've been to every one since my children were in school. I am a 25-year resident of this community, and I have had 2 children go through Lakota East. My daughter graduated in 2013, and she actually was on the Spark for 1 year, and my son graduated in 2016. I am in my 8th year of being on the school board. I was a 1st grade teacher and a 2nd grade teacher, and education and public education specifically is in my blood. My mom was a teacher. I am a product of public schools. So when my kids graduated and I needed something else to do with my time, I thought, oh, why not run for the school board? I've been involved on the district level, on many committees. I have been involved at the school level. I think I was the PTA president in every building that my children were in. I served on DPC and President's Council, so I have a lot of history in the district. I am proud of the things that we have done. My 8 years on the board, it hasn't always been smooth sailing, but it's always been rewarding because I'm here to make decisions based on what is best for every single student in our district, regardless of where they come from, regardless of where they are educationally.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go on to Ms. Jenkins. So we're doing opening statements. We have 2 minutes, and our timers are down there. Yellow means 30 seconds left, and then red to stop.
Perfect timing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Elise Jenkins, and I am proudly running for Lakota School Board because I believe in the transformative power to unlock potential, create opportunity for all students, no matter their background. Lakota has been home for over 30 years to our family. It's where my son played safe soccer, began Cub Scouts, where my nieces have graduated from Lakota West. And I'm a second-generation poll worker as a way to get back in the community, a Westchester business owner in logistics, and I serve on my community HOA board, if I catch my breath. My background is in engineering and marketing, and also have a trade license from Butler Tech. So I know how powerful real-world hands-on learning can be. I also completed School Board School, which is a 10-month cohort program to train and ensure that school board leaders are prepared to lead the district day one. This November issue 10 is about reducing overcrowding, which I'm addressing head on, keeping class sizes small, enhancing safety, and modernizing schools responsibly. My father's on a fixed income and he lives with us, okay? And my mom lives here also. So I always approach modernization with mindfulness and balance. I'm not running to divide, I'm running to unite. Experience matters, preparation matters, community roots matter. Together, a future-ready Lakota.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Meyer.
Happy Columbus Day, everybody. I'm Melissa Meyer, and I've worked in the schools now. I just retired this year. I worked for 14 years in both Mason City School and here in Lakota. I worked 7 years in Lakota, and in between those years, I worked 6 straight years in Mason. I've witnessed in Mason some of the great things that they are doing that we are not doing, and I would like to see those things implemented, especially since they are a much higher level standard graded school. Number 2 in the state, number 68 in the nation. I'd like to see that for Lakota. My main issues are education readiness of all grades and graduation readiness for when you leave, so that you're prepared if you want to go to university or if you want to go to trade schools. You need a good education. I'm all for the privacy and protection of all students in the school and equality over DEI. Everyone gets the same opportunity the day they walk into kindergarten, to get the same education at the same time, by the same teacher, with the same letters and same numbers. But the responsibility is also put on the student and the family to do their part as partners with the education system so that that kid can thrive. If one fails, then the child fails, because we need them both. I had 3 children that graduated at Lakota, and they all went on to do great careers and readiness for university because of the AP courses and dual enrollment courses that are offered through Lakota that I would like to see get bigger and better and more offered to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya?
Well, thank you, Ashley, Jocelyn, and the Spark team for hosting tonight, and thank you everyone for being here. My name is Tommy Montoya, and I'm running for school board because I believe our Lakota community deserves a school board that's connected and listens to the community, that acts carefully and puts students and teachers first. And I grew up in the public education system. I believe in the power of education to change a life because it's changed my life, but also in the power to change the future of our students, the future of our communities. I'm a father of 4, 3 who are currently Lakota students, 1 who will be, he's in preschool. I've spent 13 years as an HR executive, and a large amount of my time in human resources is bringing people together from different perspectives and backgrounds to find common sense solutions that help us to win moving forward. And I think that's a skill set that's actually really potent and powerful on the school board. I've also served the community in different ways. In Arizona, I was appointed by the governor to the Governor's Youth Commission, and in the state of Utah, I was appointed to the State Workforce Development Board, and I was also the chair of the Youth Committee, which was specifically responsible for driving outcomes from student high school graduations into future-ready workforce, whether that was partnership with universities, trade schools, employers, things like that, and driving that connection was very important and valuable to me. I've also served as a Sunday school teacher, a youth minister in my children's classrooms on field trips, and I've been able to connect with people throughout the community. And what I hear is that people want a school board that puts students and teachers first, that builds transparent and collaborative relationships with the community and with our taxpayers, and that drives fiscal responsibility for long-term excellence in education. And those are my priorities in running for school board.
Thank you. Mr. Nguyen?
Once again, thank you to the Spark staff for putting this on, for the LEA for having this forum and for using the space. I'm a little bit biased because I was on the Lakota West journalism team, but I wish they would have something like this. But congratulations to you guys for all your success and for hosting this. Thank you to the members of our community who are out here today as well, giving some of your time to engage in your local democracy. My name is Benjamin Nguyen, and I am proudly running for Lakota's Board of Education. For the past 10 years, Lakota teachers have invested in me. Our wonderful administrators have kept our buildings running. Our support staff have invested in me. Our SROs have kept our buildings safe. And I can't think of a more impactful way to give back to my community than to serve on Lakota's Board of Education. When I made the decision to run, I reflected a lot on my heritage. This past April, my family celebrated 50 years in this country. My grandfather was airlifted with his family out of Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base in Saigon, South Vietnam. And he came to this country with 5 kids and his wife with just $2. And he decided to make his American dream right here in Southwest Ohio. And it's an American dream that endures through my family. And as someone who wants to live here, stay here, raise a family, buy a home right here in our community, I have to look and wonder for myself and for my generation, with this levy, with the fiscal irresponsibility we've seen from the current board, I have to wonder, is that future still available? Is that American dream still able for my generation to live out right here in our community? I want a Lakota that is fiscally responsible. A Lakota that, when we say we're making future-ready students, we're investing in the workforce, the students who want to go straight into the workforce, as well as those who are college-ready. I also want to invest and implement transparency. For too long, we haven't had the voices of parents directing the education of their kids, and I want to return the voices of parents back into the education of their kids, because there's no more intimate investment that a parent can make than putting their kids, to choosing which school to put their kids in. So,
Okay. All right. Candidates now have 1 to 2 minutes to answer each question. We understand this is a limited amount of time, but with the number of candidates, it will be necessary to cut you off if you go over. Once again, Sarah and Julia will be providing a 30-second warning before calling time, and once the previous candidate has clearly finished their response or has reached their time limit, I will call the next candidate in line, and they may begin. With each question, we will alternate the first candidate in response to ensure fairness. So for our first question, one of Spark's editors-in-chief will now ask her question.
What are your main concerns about the district, and how do you plan to address them if chosen to be selected on the board?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, we'll get over that.
We're going to have to talk really loud.
What are your main concerns about the district, and how do you plan to address them if selected to be on the board?
We'll start with Ms. Casper. I didn't say that, so sorry.
First.
Yes, for this one.
I think the main concern we have is the elephant in the room, is the fact that we are overcrowded in our district. We have large class sizes, we have buildings that are not in great shape, and so for me, the biggest concern is how we are going to address those issues. It is not a secret that we have a bond issue on the ballot. We have worked on this for several years. We made the decision to put the bond issue on the ballot after a lot of discussion, after a lot of input. We had thought exchanges. There were conversations prior to COVID, unfortunately, where we spoke to the public on what they wanted. We had meetings, we had parent involvement, so we've been doing this a while. This didn't just crop up overnight. We talked about doing it in phases, but unfortunately, we felt like that was disingenuous. We know how much money it's going to cost, and we thought to put it out there in 3 increments is not really smart, because it looks like you're not being transparent. And we are transparent, fiscally responsible. If you know anything about our treasurer, you know he's one of the most fiscally responsible people in the world. So that is, for me, that is our biggest hurdle that we have right now, is what are we going to do with these students? We have classrooms that have 35 kids in them, and that is not educationally sound. A teacher can't get to 35 kids in an English class to help them with their essays. So we have to figure out where we can get some space back. And we think that this facilities plan is a great idea. We pick up some extra square footage, and more importantly, we're building buildings and utilizing space differently. We are trying to use space so we can educate not only these kids, but kids 40, 50 years down the road. We're not trying to do something that is just for the next 5 or 10 years. We want it to be sustainable. We want to make sure that future generations can have the kind of facilities that they need to get the education they deserve.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
Thank you, Ashley. Well, for starters, Lakota is doing a wonderful job. We've got outstanding students, amazing administration, dedicated educators, and we also have a supportive community. And at the heart of that is my primary focus are the students, which is why we must modernize our facilities. As I've been canvassing, you've heard me talk about this before we've even gotten to the table here, that is a primary focus of mine, and doing so in a way that it becomes an ease, not a burden, to our taxpayers. I also believe that we have to strengthen our career and college readiness as an option for our students. For example, our caretaker for my dad, who lives with me with dementia, came through Lakota and completed an IT pathway that is working in healthcare. So I believe that we need to strengthen that pipeline to ensure that students are clear early enough and how to take advantage of what my nieces did over at Lakota West with College Credit Plus, where they only had a year and a half of college to complete per their choice, and with the support of their amazing counselors and the choice that they made. I'll bring that focus to that area of emphasis. That is definitely something that we need to strengthen. And then lastly, we need to ensure safety protocols are in place. We know what's in the news today. We don't have to discuss that here. It is devastating. That should never happen. Schools should be safety first to all students, and there are ways and methodologies that through my experience and preparedness, I'll bring as a school board member. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Meyer?
My biggest concern is also overcrowdedness. And that is also done by open enrollment. These are students that are coming from other districts. Some are children of the teachers or aides or whatever other employee happens to work there. If we are overcrowded, we do not have room for other district kids. I was looking on the websites, and when you look at between state, federal, local taxes, where we already have a levy, we're asked to pay another and a bond. The average kid costs the school district and the state and federal $16,000 per student. Now that's a little bit more for maybe special ed, maybe a less on this, but overall the average is $16,000 per student. So, as other people want to say, we should let others come into our district that is overcrowded, put too many in our classroom, as she says the teachers have too many, 35 is too much. Well, I will say, after what I've witnessed in the classroom, sometimes 20 is too much when some of the kids are in there disrupting the classroom where the teacher cannot teach. So discipline inside the school has got to be a focus of the school board to make the learning environment better for the students and for the teachers, because they're not happy either. We also know that when it comes to safety, that's a big part of mine too. And one thing I would really like to see are signs on every glass door, other than the maintenance, the front door, no entry. Because a lot of people walk up to these doors and they knock on the door, there's a kid inside about to open that door when you tell them no. Please, go around, There are people in the community that walk across go ahead, thank you.
Mr. Montoya.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel really grateful to live in the Lakota community, which really does support the schools. And as I think about the main concerns I have for the school district right now, there's two that are coming to mind. First is the partnership between that supportive community and the school needs to be stronger. There is a perception out there, and perception is reality in cases where the school board, the current school board, or even the school district isn't listening to or responsive to the concerns of the community. Right now, I know there is a lot of listening that takes place, but where that's not happening or where that's not perceived is happening, we have a problem. The relationship between the community and the schools has to be stronger. And who this community elects to the school board matters. Perception matters. It matters for the health of the district, and it matters for the perception of the district in the area and the credibility and our ability to bring in and retain stable and excelling staff. And so I think how I would address that is by providing a stable, a consistent, and independent, a mature style of leadership to the board that listens and truly seeks to understand what is on the community's mind so that we can govern in a way that reflects the community. The second one is, if you look at our current school report card, one of our lowest areas is on career readiness. And I think ensuring that future-ready workforce has to be a priority. There's a number of outcomes that we intend with education, but one of them is that future readiness for the workforce. This is an area where I have practical experience across public service and through 13 years of my professional experience, developing skills and ensuring that we're fitting the workforce for the job to be done. As we look at the evolution and the rapid evolution of artificial intelligence and other digital tools, right? We need people in the community and on the board who are willing to drive an understanding and awareness of how those changes change the way that students need to be ready to enter the workforce. And those are areas that I have real-world skills and experience driving change and meaningful progress. And so those would be two areas: community relationship and job readiness.
And Mr. Wynn.
When I think of the issues that face Lakota, and the number one priority, I really have to think that the job of the board is very multifaceted, and the issues that confront our district is multifaceted. We have safety, fiscal responsibility, transparency, community input. All of these are concerns that, as a member of our Board of Education, I'd like to address head on. This November, you get to elect the majority of the board, that's 3 members. I'd like to, day one, first board meeting we have, bring back public comment in Lakota. It's not just the perception that we're not transparent with our community, it's reality that we're not very transparent with the community. An unrecorded listening session that isn't maybe open to the public and isn't public knowledge and you can't find it, that's not very transparent. I think people should see the concerns that other parents are bringing up, and they should be able to come in and speak to their board, especially when you put the largest levy in Ohio's history in front of them and you're taxing this community. When it comes to fiscal responsibility, it's not enough to just vote no on this master facilities plan or issue 10. We also need fiscally responsible board members who are going to ensure that something like this ridiculous, unnecessary, gross burden to the taxpayers doesn't come up again. We need somebody who's going to be in the room on the board and who's ensuring that the community is heard, that we are understanding of the positions that our taxpayers are in, and making sure that we come with a reasonable plan that doesn't burden the taxpayers by putting $35,000 over their head as that's what they're going to be in debt if this levy passes. Furthermore, we also have to address safety concerns. I think safety comes to mind for a lot of people, especially in light of recent events. We have to prioritize safety, and it's not enough to just go to the community and say we are. Actions speak louder than words, and as a board member, I plan to be a member of our Board of Education who goes forward with action. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question will be asked by, just kidding, Mr. Argos. All right, so Mr. Argos, it's your turn.
No, thank you.
Everyone knows it's your turn now, so
Yeah.
My apologies for that.
So I got great education here. My kids are getting a great education, but there's obviously, always things you can do better at. The overcrowding and the state of facilities is obviously, a low-hanging fruit. We have portables in my children's classroom, and there's cockroaches in the building that my oldest attended last year. But I guess I wanted to address a couple other things that could be improved too. For me, specials, having had a few kids go through elementary recently, the way we do it here in Lakota just isn't special. I'd like to see teachers have more regular meetings and be able to go deeper on those specials. And yeah, I think that would really help out in the earlier grades. As far as we talked about I do think there's a perception problem with the trust. I know the people on the school board right now listen. And they will take plenty of time to see what you have to say. But I think a couple reasons that their perception is there. One is we just had a new superintendent come in and she had listening sessions for a whole year, and the school board community presence kind of took a backseat to that. That's not something that was intentional or trying to break trust. It just is kind of an unfortunate side effect. And as far as the public comment goes, I do think there should be some changes there, but I don't think it should be the priority. It can be handled through the regular policy process, because our focus should be on what can make things better for students, not some political thing that people are using to make a big deal out of.
Thank you. Guys, from now on, I will be giving you a 10-second warning. Hopefully. No, I'm just going to say 10. If that's not time, it's 10. Okay. All right. The second question is also asked by Jocelyn Duff, our editor-in-chief. Go ahead. We'll start with Ms. Jenkins.
Concerning the surge of physical violence from students.
Slower and much louder.
Can they go to the mic?
Yeah.
Concerning the surge of physical violence from students reported by Lakota teachers and staff from other districts, are you aware of this? How would you suggest it is handled, and what policy would you put in place to protect staff members?
Very good question, I appreciate that. Are we starting with me?
Yes, if you need me to repeat any part of it, let me know.
If you would, please go ahead and repeat it.
Oh, sure. So concerning the surge of physical violence from students reported by Lakota teachers and staff from other districts, are you aware of this? How would you suggest it is handled, and what policy would you put into place to protect staff members, if any?
Thank you for that question. Safety is a priority. Violence is a part of that, and that's why as a board member, I've made it a future board member. I've made it a priority to focus in on and collaborate with organizations like Moms Demand Action, where we discuss and work towards awareness training. Getting parents are the first teacher. When we engage our parents and we emphasize the importance of at-home training, students bring that to the building. It is not fair for teachers to have to, given the class sizes that we have, take on that responsibility, and part of that, it starts at home. The policy that I would put in place, along with my constituents, would focus on this as well. We also need to ensure that mental health is in our building, and we've had a chance to discuss this, and I'd like to see that expand further. I know that we do have a room at Lakota East High School, but we need to have the resources and professionals around safety, violence, for those that may not necessarily be willing to come forward and admit that there is an issue there or address. Lastly, Lakota Care is an amazing program in our district. I would tap into utilizing that resource to ensure that those resources are leveraged, because the caring part, including disability, includes mental health illness as well. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Ms. Meyer?
I agree, all of those issues sound good. I've been in the school, I've seen those fights. I've seen those fights with 5th graders, I've seen them in the high school with 11th and 12th graders. Unfortunately, when I was in the last school with the 5th graders, and I was with my one student, that was not that. When that happened, I turned, and they were right beside me, throwing their hands, and I'm like, hey, stop, and I got in the middle. Unfortunately, I was then reprimanded, by the teacher saying it's not my place to stop the fight before someone gets hurt. It's my place to just stay there with my student. I disagree. It was my place to keep a kid from hurting another kid. So we definitely need some more guidance inside the school, procedures, policies to say how to intervene when this happens. The next thing, what I have not heard yet, is consequences. That is something that we need more of in school. Everything is not about mental health. Mental health is an issue. But some of this is just, they're mad at each other, and then they sit there and they get in a fight and it goes quick. It happened in a matter of just a few seconds standing in line when that happened. But the fact is, we need consequences, that these kids are going to have a little more fear of a consequence so that they will not take these negative, dangerous actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya?
Yeah, so physical and psychological safety are critical, right? They have to be a priority for the board, and they're critical to student learning and student outcomes. And so these are clear things that need to be prioritized. I think a few things, not to be repetitive, but we need to make sure that our staff are trained on signs and indicators of behavior that need to be identified early, and understand the resources they can connect students and families with, right? I think one of the big challenges we have is we've got to make sure that the school plays its part and it sticks to its lane, and it can involve others, right? And draw on other resources and connect people, families, individuals to other resources in the community, but we need to go outside that. I do think it's important that there is a progressive and a severe consequence pattern for repeat behavior, right? Again, this is a significant issue, and we need to ensure that we've got that safe environment for our students to learn, but there is a role for consequences that are progressive and severe as that continues, and in some cases, right, zero tolerance, because the school needs to be a school. We need to make sure that our students can be there to learn, our teachers can be there to teach, and they can do so in a safe and healthy manner. And ultimately, I think that's the priority for everyone in the district.
Thank you. Mr. Wynn?
As someone who's been in schools recently, for the past 10 years, I know firsthand, and I have seen firsthand these fights, these altercations. I've seen the value that we can have as a board investing in mental health, as a district investing in those mental health concerns with my peers, but also with our teachers. I'm glad Mr. Montoya said it. Zero tolerance is definitely the double underline of this whole issue. We need to be zero tolerance. Our teachers are going in there, yes, they're talented teachers, they're paid well. They're not going in to get beat up. They're there to give your kids a quality education. We need to be advocates for them just as much as we're advocating for student safety. But when it comes to safety, I think a lot of people put the focus on the students, and it's absolutely a priority. But our teachers are going in there as well. And when it comes to safety, it needs to be for everybody. And I think it's a great question for the board as a full body. We need to bring back the safety committee back into Lakota, the board safety committee. The board needs to be at the table with the SROs, addressing these issues head on as a team, and coming up with solutions to not just prioritize student safety, but prioritize the safety of our teachers so that they can go in, provide a quality education, and not fear, which student with the behavioral issues is going to act out to that.
Thank you. Mr. Argo?
So safety of students and staff is critically important, like everyone else has said. I've seen family members who work in classrooms and deal with challenges come back with scratch marks and all types of things, and every day they would go back knowing that was the possibility of happening. And I'm always impressed by the dedication, that our teachers have when they go into situations. I do hope that there's something that we can do to improve this. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers, but I've also heard that across buildings, the discipline that the students receive is not always exactly the same. So I think it might be useful to kind of do a overall review of what those practices are in the buildings and see if that is something that we can, change to help protect our staff a little bit more.
Thank you. Ms. Casper?
I don't think any of us up here think that physical violence is okay. Nobody does. I don't think anybody out there thinks that physical violence is okay. We have a lot of policies and procedures in place. We do a lot of behavioral training with our staff. We do a lot of behavioral training with our students. But you have to understand where the issue is. There is not a one-size-fits-all punishment. You have to, again, mental health is a huge piece of this. Why is the child acting up? Why are they getting physical altercations? We don't know the answers to that. So I think we have to do our due diligence to find out the answers to things like that. I don't think there is a case where somebody gets into an argument, gets into a fight, and automatically there is a 1-day suspension, a 2-day suspension. That doesn't do the child any good. So we have to figure out where and why the violence is coming from. And then we do have to take appropriate consequences. There is appropriate consequences. There is a lot of zero tolerance in our policies. They're absolutely forbidden. We're not going to allow it. And we do make every effort we can to keep our teachers safe. We also make every effort we can to keep the rest of our students safe. So for me, it's not just a one-size-fits-all punishment. It doesn't work that way. You won't be successful, and it won't be successful with the student. But there are cases where we have to tell the student, this is not acceptable. Any kind of bringing a weapon to school, anything like that, there is no way that that's okay, and you will, every time, face the zero tolerance policy consequences. So we have to figure out the root of the problem and get to the root of the problem instead of constantly just telling students that, you have to leave, you have to be expelled, because that doesn't do any good either.
Thank you. Our next question will be asked by Annabelle McCarty, one of our news editors.
The master facilities plan that is on the ballot for November 4th includes renovating 12 buildings, demolishing 9, and constructing 4. This would move the district to a K-5, 6-8, 9-12 structure with a standalone preschool. According to the Butler County Auditor, the ballot will show millage that translates to a total property tax of $208 per $100,000 in assessed property value to fund this project. If the district does not collect the additional property taxes until 2029, the net increase in taxes will be $93.10 per $100,000 of assessed property value in property taxes because of a past property tax that will no longer be collected at that time. What would you say to voters who do not agree with your stance on the master facilities plan?
We're going to go and start with Mrs. Meyer.
I'm not real sure exactly which levy she's referring to will not be enacted, because I can tell you the 2013 levy that was passed was a continual levy, and it is still enacted, and it will always be. If the new levy is also passed, they will run concurrently, indefinitely. They are both permanent levies. The only one that is not permanent is the bond, and it's going to run for about 30 years. So there's some misrepresentation on the website about this 5-year possible. There is no 5-year levy. It is a continual levy, as this new one is as well. Now, when it comes to some of the master's facilities plan, there are some things in there that I don't understand why they haven't already tried to incorporate. They want to bring the freshmen into the main high school. That's easily done, and that doesn't cost anything. If they're going to use those 2 buildings for the 7th and 8th grade, well, they're already there, so do it. And then after you've implemented plans that you can already do without raising people's taxes, then look at the next level and the next issue after that. What can be done now can be done. It does not have to be all or nothing. And that seems to be what this board presently is looking at, all or nothing. And that's just not the case. And now, it is true that if it does go, we are looking at $200 million, which is 32% of what the state will give us back. So that tells you if they're going to give back 32% of the full 100%, the rest of it is coming out of your pocket. And that's 68%. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya?
So this levy is large, and it demands serious consideration. I understand people who have concerns here. I have concerns about the levy. I agree on the long-term objective of operational efficiencies and the benefits that we gain by getting to less buildings. I also believe in the power of the educational outcomes that follow less student transitions between buildings, right? Less disruption between buildings and less disruption of cohorts. Those are good outcomes that I think everyone in the community probably agrees with. I also think it's important to just state that supporting the schools and driving fiscal responsibility are not opposing ideas. You can support the schools and invest in the schools in the right way and at the right time. And I hear a lot of concerns in the community about this. I love those directions that this particular levy enables, but I do have concerns. Right? It is a big levy. I think there's a lot of concern about how large it is, and are we doing everything all at once, or is there a piecemeal process that would be better to get us there? I think those are fair questions that I've heard in the community, and I think we have to understand that. Here's what I'd say. If this levy passes, it's a good master facilities plan, and I think it does provide, over the long term, good outcomes for students, but we're going to want, as taxpayers, strong levels of oversight, transparency, accountability, productivity in those dollars. We're going to want to make sure we've got people on the board who are willing to build transparent and collaborative relationships within the community to successfully drive those outcomes in the funds we're using. And if it doesn't, we still have the issues of overcrowding and security and aging facilities that need to be addressed. Either way, we need somebody on the board who can bring together people with different points of view to drive a common sense solution moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn?
I believe you can have a good plan with good intentions that just costs too much, and that's how I would view this plan. You know, I think we all agree that condensing could save us operationally, but when the down payment is $500 million, and then plus the state funding, which really makes it a $706 million project, I don't think you can really expect to see those operational savings anytime soon. The auditor's absolutely right. This is a $4.99 mil issue with a 0.95 permanent improvement levy. How that translates is going to be the $208 per 100,000 new properties assessed value. I think the district just told us today, and actually I've already been saying it, that this is the largest levy in Ohio's history. And you have people justifying it by saying, well, some of our buildings weren't built to state standards. Well, the reason they weren't built to state standards is that when you take a deal with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, they come out with these huge, costly projects. And that's why, you know, we haven't had, that's why we've never built to OFCC standards, because it's always been very expensive. And when it comes to fiscal responsibility, we need somebody on the board who's going to hold the board accountable so that we don't take this, so that we, you know, it's important to vote no on this levy, but we also got to make sure that this levy or something similar with a similar price tag doesn't come up again. We need to address the situations and the issues that are definitely in our schools, but with a reasonable solution, with a reasonable price tag to our community. I think everybody wants to support our schools, but they don't want to pay for it financially. The question was, you know, what's your message to those who oppose you on the levy? And as someone who opposes this levy, you know, rather jokingly, you can take the $35,000 that it'll put the average homeowner off of my dad's head, and you can pay that yourself. Look, this is going to be $35,000 for every homeowner. Sorry. This is going to put the average homeowner $35,000 in debt. And so as a member of the Board of Education, I would be promoting a plan that is reasonable for our community and nice for please thank you, President.
All right.
Mr. Argo, go ahead.
I wish we had 30 minutes to answer this question, because that's what it really takes. If you have not been to one of the information sessions the district puts on, please go to one. One thing to talk about is the millage that is shown by the auditor's calculator is not wrong. It just assumes that we collect right now, and it assumes that we don't get any state share of funding. That's not the reality. And we're not going to collect for 3 years. If you're trying to figure out the actual impact to you, it's the $93.10 per $100,000 evaluation. I've got a calculator on my website I put together, argoforlakota.com. You can go there and check it out. But the thing that I keep hearing from people is buildings by themselves do not improve education. And I would say, yeah, I agree with that. But most people who are saying that are not looking into what the driving force of this bond issue is. It's the consolidation and the operational savings that we get from that. that can impact education. I think the last estimate was about $12 million per year that we would get. We could improve specials, we could potentially, and this isn't for sure, but it puts us much closer to being able to bus K to 12. So I would encourage people to go to some of these informational sessions, because even if all of us point by point went through and addressed every issue, we wouldn't have enough time up here with this question. So please go and check those sessions out.
Thank you. Ms. Casper? I agree, we could talk about this for days, but we don't have days. What I would say, I'd like to use my time to correct some of the misnomers. It would be awesome if we could take ninth graders and put them in the high schools right now. Unfortunately, we cannot do that because there is no space. It would be awesome to take sixth graders out of our very crowded elementary schools and put them in the junior schools. Again, there is no space. These classes are large. As far as the bonds and the levies, there is a bond rolling off, 2 bonds in 2029. Yes, they are, they're rolling off. They're 37-year bonds that we have paid off in 20 and I believe 25 years. We didn't even go the whole length because we restructured the debt. So I would agree with Alex when I say, please go to one of the community events, please reach out to the treasurer. We are not trying to build the Taj Mahals. We're not putting marble on the floors. We are just trying to give kids some educational spaces that they can use to enhance their education. And again, this is not just for Alex's kids or anybody that's on the board that has kids or any of your kids. It's also for the kids in the next 50 years. We're not trying to bait and switch. We've made a commitment to not collect until 2029 when those bonds roll off. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody is on social media saying we're lying, we're doing this. 5 people, a superintendent and a treasurer, are not lying to you. I promise you. You just have to make sure you understand what it is we're trying to achieve. So please, 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 try to get to one of those community sessions or speak with our treasurer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Jenkins?
Thank you. This is a very sincere question for us all. And when you inquire with me what my position is when someone opposes, I see both perspectives. As a board member, it is my role to work across the aisle and listen first and hear and be able to agree to disagree, but collectively to come up with a solution for everyone. I've said this before and I'll say it again. With my father being on a fixed income, I know firsthand what that's like. I recall years ago when my daughter had competitive basketball games at Lakota West, the freshman building. When I look online at Dr. White is showing firsthand, I think we ought to go take a tour, what the building looks like. If you can imagine at home, repairing something broken versus replacing it, building new or tearing it down, I think you would come to the same decision. I get it, it's hard. 70% of our district do not have students in the school, but we do have homes. And guess what's happened? Our property values have definitely increased. So while I support modernization of our district, I have empathy and I understand both sides. But I believe wholeheartedly that property taxes is one approach. And as a board member, I would explore collectively the income-based approach and collaborative solutions with community partners. So as a board member, this is what I would say. We need everyone's integrity, ideas, and investment for the future.
Thank you. Our next question will be asked by Delaney, one of our culture editors. We will start with Mr. Montoya.
If the bond issue and levy pass in November, are you committed to following through on the current Board of Education's documented declarations to hold off on collecting revenue on it until 2029 and at that point, collecting at a net 2.66 mils rather than the 5.94 mils increase that is stated on the ballot.
This is a 1-minute question, so candidates will have 1 minute to answer, the rest are 2 minutes.
If I understand the question, the question is, if elected, would I support the current board's declaration to not collect until 2029 if the bond passes?
That's correct.
All right, I'll give you a one-word answer. Yes, I support that.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes, I would support that, but again, we have to look at, I've been told, you don't speak bad things into existence, so I don't really want to go there. This is the largest levy in Ohio's history. It's not really enough to just understand both sides. Look, when this passes, first off, our board should have read the room. They should understand that, look, appraisals are up 37%. People, I go around door knocking, I talk to people who lived in here since the 90s, and now they're wondering why their 175, $100,000 house is now paying property taxes on $475,000 house. When 61% of Ohioans are ready to axe the whole property tax system, we have to wonder, how can we even carry this out? So we should have read the room and had the common sense to not come with this plan at this time of this size to the taxpayers.
Thank you. Mr. Argo?
Short answer, yes. The one thing that I would also like to point out is we are where we are. We're not in some other time. We've been saying, oh, it's not the right time to put a levy on the ballot since 2020, and that has partially got us to where we are. So this is something that we need to figure out a plan to move forward, and if this is not the plan, and as a board member, I'll have to figure out what that other plan is. But it's not possible that we can just stand by and let nothing happen.
Thank you. Ms. Casper?
Obviously, since I voted yes the first time, I would vote yes the second time to uphold the resolutions that we passed. I just want to say, nobody likes asking for money. Nobody thinks it's a great idea. And we are not in charge of the property values and what the county auditor assesses our properties at. We're just trying to build schools and give kids an education. So I think that in the state of Ohio, property taxes and levies are how schools are funded. If we don't like that, then we need to figure out a way to change that. It's not all of the burden on the school district.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
So I believe that our students deserve the best learning environment, the most modern setting, and that our teachers also deserve that as well. So my answer would be absolutely yes.
Thank you. Ms. Meyer?
If it passes, then yes, I do not want it to go into effect until the last minute of the last day. But as they have said, the houses have increased in value. Therefore, the 2013 levy that has already been put in, that mill is already going up because your house is going up. So you're already paying more taxes. Because it's on the mill of the $100,000 that the house is valued at, and the houses are valued at higher now than they were in 2013. But if it passes, we will do it.
Thank you. Our next question will be asked by Eliana, our sport and photography editor. We'll start with Mr. Nguyen, and this is a 2-minute question, as is the last one.
How do you plan to engage taxpayers who do not have children in the district?
It's a great question.
How do you plan to engage taxpayers who do not have children in the district?
As I go about campaigning for this position on the Board of Education, I already engaged with our residents on fixed incomes, with our empty nesters. Again, we've got about 70% of our people in this district are empty nesters, or they don't have kids or never had kids in our district, in our school district. 61% of Ohioans already got the entire property tax system because they're frustrated with how the appraisals have gone up. 37%, we were bracing for another increase in property taxes. We have to read the room as a board and engage with our community and say, look, we understand where you are, and we're not going to raise your property taxes, not unreasonably. We shouldn't have taken the OFCC's money on this plan because when you take a deal with the OFCC, it's always an extraordinary It's an unprecedented levy. In Ohio's history, it's unprecedented. Again, I just have to go back to saying this is going to put the average homeowner $35,000 in debt, and it's going to see the average homeowner is going to see an average property tax increase of $950 at the end of the year. And I have to ask, when we're talking about engaging with our community, engaging with those who feel that they've already paid into the system, look, we all want to support our public schools, but we don't want to bankrupt ourselves. And we're talking about supporting our students, supporting our schools. I think number one, we have to treat parents and taxpayers like partners and not pocketbooks. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Argo?
So I guess I wanted to go back, and I guess we're on the fact check patrol over here on the center of the table. So the operating levy and the bond, or the PI levy that passed back in 2013 collects the exact same amount it does as it did then. I think the PI levy was like 2 mils and now it's down to 0.5. That's because of House Bill 920. I think I actually had a slide named after me by the treasurer for a little bit on the school presentation because it's crazy how that works, but that's how it works, and it blew me away the first time, and I try to educate people about House Bill 920 whenever I can. But as far as how to, talk to people in our community, we have to, reach out in every way we can. I mean, we find them where they are. We send out mailers. We invite them to our community conversations. We go to the library when they have their days for seniors, and hopefully maybe we can get a community center in the future where we can reach out to some of those folks as well.
Great, thank you. Ms. Casper?
I think we continue to do what we're doing and add more of what we're doing. We send 2 mailers a year to the entire community, so that reaches everybody, about the financial part of our district and the quality profile, which talks about the education part of our district. So I think we continue to do that. We are in as many places that will allow us speaking to senior citizens or any empty nesters. I myself am an empty nester. I am not thrilled with having rising property values and having to pay more taxes. But I also understand that if your schools are not successful, your property values are going to tank. And we don't want to have a situation like that. We don't want to have a situation where people are fleeing because the schools aren't strong. So I think we continue to try to engage as much as we can with our senior population, and we've been to Silver Sneakers, we've been to the senior meetings on Friday, we've had them come to the Boys and Girls Club. So we have reached out to them and are doing our best to continue. But I think it's important to realize that you have to have a strong school system to have a strong community. When Westchester was voted the top 25 places to live, I'm pretty sure that one of the benchmarks that they looked at was the schools. So I think that is something you have to keep in mind as you reach out to people. But we do our level best. I know we have committees within the district that have had seniors on them before. So we do what we can to try to get them into our buildings and get them involved. Grandparents come in and read, they see our buildings. We have grandparents raising their students. So we do our best to try to get to them.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
We are currently involved with a great number of individuals who don't have students in the district. One way we do that is, of course, we've met during canvassing. Another way is throughout the 30-plus years that our family has been in the community. My mom, I have to applaud her. She knows the neighbors, and I get that from her. And they know us. We engage at Midpoint Library every Friday. I've had conversations. If you look at our logo, the whole concept and branding was about having conversations. And I love that they know me now by name. And they can tell stories of which I had known, stories that we do share. And so during that time, I meet them where they are. And that's how I lead, collaborating, listening. And I'm big on respecting my elders. I don't care where I am in life. I think for the number of those that don't have children in the district, we have to lead with love, care, and listening. That's something that I was raised on, and that's something that I continue to do, and I'll do as a board member as well.
All right, thank you. Ms. Meyer?
Thank you. It's not easy to go to someone and ask them to pay more taxes. It's even harder to go ask someone who doesn't have children in the district. It's even harder to ask them to pay for children out of district to come into your schools that they want more money for. Basically, it all comes down to, when it comes to asking for the money, is basically, do you agree with the levy or not? I do not go and ask for people to pass the levy. I actually go and I tell them I do not support the levy. I believe more cuts can be done and other things can be implemented before you ask for more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya?
The health of the district impacts everybody who lives in it, whether you have children in the district or not. And I think the question was, how do you engage those 70% who don't have students in the district right now? If you think about your own educational experience, one of the highest drivers of engagement is that sense of school pride. Right? I grew up in a small town in rural Arizona, and everybody in that town knew how the football team was doing. Everybody in that town would come out for community service project days when we were weeding the school fields or painting the school or things like that, because it was a way to build community and to build pride in what was, for me, the Blue Ridge Unified School District. So how do you engage a community, right? These are 70% of the people that live in our district. They might not have children in the school district now, but many of them probably did. Many of them probably still feel that sense of Lakota pride somewhere in there. And if they're not feeling it, it probably comes because they feel like they're not being listened to, they're not being heard, they're not being understood. Elise actually mentioned a word that's very meaningful, I think the word respect. When we talk about respect, quick lesson, we're in a school. Well, the word actually comes from the prefix re, means to do something again, and the core word spect, think like spectacle, spectator, it means to see. It means to see again and again and again. To respect that community, that 70% of our community who's not maybe feeling engaged, we have to learn to see things the way they're seeing them. What lens are they wearing? What experience are they having that's keeping them from feeling engaged and connected to the community? And then how do we build that relationship? How do we restore pride where maybe it's been lost or burnt or broken? And to me, it comes down to listening, to hearing, and to providing that stable, consistent leadership that we need from the school and that we expect of the school board so that people all around can be proud of who we are as Lakota.
Thank you. Our final question will be asked once again by Eliana, and we'll start with Mr. Argo.
How do you plan to stay focused on student education without allowing personal political bias to impede that ability?
So if you've paid attention over the past few years, you can see the path that we've gone down where that goes off the rails. And I think it's important to just be a professional, listen, have respect for all the other board members. And normally when someone disagrees with you, it's not because they're crazy or they're wrong, it's because they have different experiences than you do. And so you need to understand and figure out why that is. So you need to dig into it more, put yourself in their shoes. And I think if everyone did that just a little bit more, I think we'd probably be off, just in general as a society, honestly. So that would be my answer.
All right, thank you. Ms. Casper?
I think I'd probably continue to do what I've done the last 8 years, which is what every decision I make is what is best for kids, what is best for our students. This is a nonpartisan seat. There shouldn't be politics here. It shouldn't be what's best for my constituents or your constituents. Once you are elected, everyone is your constituent. And all of the students in the district are your students that you have to provide for. So I think I would continue to make sure that everything I do is focused through that lens. I don't want to be a politician. This is not a stepping stone for me. This is all I want to do, just give back to Lakota, like the board members prior to me that gave back to my kids. So I think I would continue to do what I have been doing for 8 years, which is make the judgments based on what is best for all my students.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
Thank you, Ashley. Years ago, you could have never told me that I'd be running for school board. I was into technology, science, and was very driven about and by my natural ability to be able to do well in math and science, even though odds faced me. Then as I progressed in life, I learned certain ways to navigate through things that I didn't do well, which was to develop a routine. I got to a stage in my life where I identified what my why, what my purpose is, and what it was at the time, and the path became clear. My why is to help others take off limitations, to move beyond mediocrity, to live and have a quality life. And as I progressed in my learning, because I believe learning never stops, I understood what my purpose was and my calling. And naturally, from the calculators that I developed and brought to market and just other roles that I worked in, it became very clear that my work was never about me, it was about others. That what I did was to give back and help someone else become a better off person. So when I think of the question and what it is that we're doing and why we're here today, purposefully, I have a routine that ensures it's not about one side or the other. It's about uniting. And you would be surprised the number of emails and calls that I get. Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? But we never ask parents which one are they when they register their students. I am here for the student like others were here for me.
Thank you. Ms. Myers? I agree that no one should come into the school board with their own political ideology and their own biases. The fact of the matter is they do. I grew up very, very poor. I grew up as a Native American. Many of you may not know that. But when I went to school, it didn't matter what color you are, or where you came from, or how rich you were, or how poor you were. If you did an infraction of the rule, you had the same consequences as everybody else. Because I even grew up with teenage parents, abusive parents, a lot of putting clothes together on Friday night because Dad might come home and kill us because he's drunk. I know that there are issues with some of these kids in these schools, but you don't overlook the actions of that kid in the school because of where they went from, because you're not helping them to learn that they have a responsibility for their actions. So when we have divisiveness, when we say we're going to look out after this person because of where they came from or what their issues are, but you are going to tote the line and you're going to follow the rules because I don't believe you have any issues. Because you don't know what any of these kids' lives are like at home. You're just assuming they may have an issue, or they may not. Or is that bias, is it racial? We should not be having any race or gender a gender assuming of what they believe they are to be. We need to be equal amongst everybody, what they are. And that's why I'm glad that our state passed Senate Bill 104. And I hope our school board isn't implementing it. Because they were not when I was still in school in February.
Thank you. Ms. Montoya?
I have a lot of strong political beliefs and values. I think we all do. But one of the things that I feel really strongly about is that the school needs to stick to its lane. And that is to prioritize that every student feels valued and has an opportunity for a high quality education. That we support our teachers. That we build that transparent, collaborative relationship with the community, and that we're doing it in a fiscally responsible way. And I disagree pretty significantly with a former member of the board, right? One who was asked to leave the board, right? I think that brought a lot of drama and issues to the school district and damaged the reputation in some ways of the community. And so while I disagree with a lot of what she did inspire me to run for the board because I felt like I could provide a stable, mature, balanced, independent voice of reason to help drive the governing affairs of the board and of the district, and ensure that the school sticks to its lanes. There are weighty and complicated issues in the world around us. I don't want to deny that. And as a board, we're going to have to address them. We're going to have to find practical solutions to address them. But if you come in with a clear set on does this impact student outcomes and how, does this support and enable our teachers and how? Are we doing this in a way that engages the community in a transparent way, in a collaborative way? And what are the financial implications that these choices would make? or have, and what is the impact on long-term excellence in education. If you're clear on that, right, then you can wade through all of the political noise in the world and help the school stick to its lane. And so that's the kind of stable, mature leadership I hope to bring to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Wade?
The question was, how you as a member of the Board of Education, how are you going to work with other people? Look, this is a tough campaign, and each and every individual on this stage is on this. Each and every individual on the stage is here because, we want our district to succeed. We want to see our district go forward, and we want student achievement to be number one. We want 4.5 to turn into a 5-star district, and each and every one of us on the stage wants that. There's just different ways that we want to approach that. I'm going to say something that, I probably shouldn't, but, I agree with a lot of what these people have said on this stage. Alex and I agree on transparency being needed in our district, on public comment. It's been said that we want to see investments in career tech. These are things that we can work together on. Because at the end of the day, it is about the students. It's about the 18,000 students in our district. It's about the 101,000 people who live in our district. It's about how can we, right, we are Lakota, how can we as a district move forward in lockstep with each other? And when it comes to doing that, when it comes to accomplishing the best, providing the best quality education we can for our students, I think there's going to be a lot of commonality between myself, if I'm elected, if you guys give me the opportunity to serve on the Board of Education, there's going to be a lot of commonality and a lot of agreements, because at the end of the day, we want Lakota to provide, no matter who comes through our doors in any building, we want Lakota to provide the best quality education for any student that comes through our front door. And however that goes about, whatever conversations we have, I think that there's going to be a lot of commonality in how this board approaches that. I'm willing to work with anybody to ensure that Lakota is the great district I know it can be.
Thank you. I appreciate you all for sitting through this and for all the candidates. You're doing great, wonderful, all of you. Our final thing we're going to do is a closing statement. So we will begin with Mr. Argo. You all have 1 minute to share a closing statement.
So thanks again for putting this on, and I thought you guys came up with a bunch of terrific questions. I feel like I have a little bit of a unique perspective. I'm a Lakota graduate. I've got parents in all of our proposed grade bands. I'm an entrepreneur and small business owner, and being an owner of a small business lets you deal with, a wide variety of things that also come up on the board, from, setting strategic goals and finances and HR. So I think Lakota's on a good path, and I hope I can earn your vote on November 4th or before to move forward with that path. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Casper?
I want to take just a minute, I guess I only have a minute, so 15 seconds to clear up some things. We do not have, I said it last candidate night, I'll say it tonight, we do not have open enrollment in Lakota except for staff children, which is a minuscule amount. Staff children are not putting us into the crowded classrooms that we have. I would also like to say that we follow every legal House bill and rule that's out there. We have a battery of lawyers to make sure we do that. I just want to thank Dan Spark for having me. It's been a great time. I hope to be able to continue the work on the board. I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of how far we've come, and I realize that we have a lot of work to do. And I will be able to hit the ground running with my experience on November the 4th if you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley, Spark, all of the leaders. This is an amazing opportunity to come forward and share more about who we are independently. And then I thank each of the candidates for being cordial. Lakota helped raise my family, and I'm running to ensure every student feels safe, seen, and supported. Every teacher feels trusted and equipped, and every parent feels heard. Today, Lakota East serves 2,300 students, Lakota West 2,800, nearly 5,000 students walking in our halls. And it underscores why we must plan responsibly for space, safety, and the quality of every learning environment. So I bring over 30 years of roots in Lakota, real business leadership, engineering, Butler Tech training, and school board readiness to serve effectively from day one. Thank you all, Elise for Lakota.
Thank you. Ms. Meyer?
I want to take this time to tell you some of the things I haven't had a chance to tell you that I'd like to see done. And some of that is I like to see kids split classes starting at grade 3 for language arts and math. These kids that are already at grade level or better need the opportunity to do more. The ones who are not at grade level need smaller classes and more resources so that they can get where they need. That's kind of a pace-based. If they can't do grade 3, let's help them get to grade 3 because they're not going to be doing grade 4 and 5 and just push them on through. And I'd also like to see the half hour implemented for tutoring time every day, which is what is done in Mason. It is phenomenal. I worked it for 6 years. And that is one of the reasons why Mason has 5-star number 2 in the state of Ohio.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya?
Yeah, so in my line of work, we often say that if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get the same results. And if you want different results, you have to go into the systems and understand what needs to be different and how you change it to get to that higher and better outcome. I've got real world experience dealing with a lot of the issues that are facing the district, and I'm willing to offer my voice of stability, reason, independence and maturity to benefit the board. On behalf of our students, our teachers, our parents, our taxpayers, I feel like what we need right now is to think about the long-term equity, the long-term vision, the long-term pride of what it means to be Lakota. And if anything I've said tonight resonates with you, I'd invite you to check out my website, montoya4lakota.com, and I'd love to be in touch with you. There's a contact form. I'd love to hear the issues and questions on your mind so that we can continue to engage in the best way moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Witt?
Once again, thank you guys for your questions and for helping organize this event with the LEA. I appreciate everybody who helped reserve this space for us and everybody in our community who came out tonight to tolerate the candidates running for office. When it comes to my closing statement, what am I going to offer you? What am I going to promote for our district? Look, I just want to say that we need fiscal responsibility. In the truest sense, we need real fiscal responsibility. Someone who's going to stand up for our fixed income residents. Someone who's going to stand up so that we don't price them out. Someone who's going to keep our district competitive and attractive and appealing for new families. I believe I can do that. The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. And I promise you tonight that if you give me the opportunity, the honor to serve on Lakota's Board of Education, I will fight for each and every single one of you with every student in mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, I want to thank all of the community members who came out tonight and all of the candidates for speaking. But now this is the end of the event. On your programs, there is a QR code to complete the survey. If you could take your time to share your thoughts on the candidates, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you are interested in placing an advertisement in our publication or purchasing a subscription, there is a table outside of the auditorium in the cafeteria with Spark representatives to answer your questions. Thank you.
Once again,